decide if self-publishing is for you? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about why I chose to self-publish in the hopes of helping you decide whether or not indie publishing is a good fit for you. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Careena and I love to talk about all things storytelling. If you enjoy writing, or if you want to self-publish, or even if you enjoy just a dash of costume making here and there, please do subscribe down below. I love sharing my adventures with you all. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing why I chose to self-publish and some factors you can consider when you're trying to decide if your book might be a better fit for traditional publishing or for self-publishing. So the first factor that I'm going to talk about is audience. What is the target audience of your book? So I write my books mainly for the Christian homeschool audience. That is the audience I have in mind when I'm writing my books. I know that it could appeal to other types of readers as well, but that is the specific audience that I'm trying to make sure my book will definitely appeal to. So because I know that that is my target audience, I can ask myself, is that an audience that the traditional publishers are trying to reach right now? And the answer to that question for my writing is no. The traditional publishers are not really targeting that type of audience right now. You will find that in the homeschool community there is a lot of self-published works, and there's kind of just different expectations when it comes to books than you might normally find in the other audiences or in the audiences that the traditional publishers are trying to reach. So because I knew that, I knew from the get-go that self-publishing was going to be a good idea and that self-publishing was probably going to be the best bet anyway, and there were other factors that I considered that also contributed to why I chose to self-publish that I'm going to discuss here shortly, but that is a really big factor you should consider whenever you're trying to decide which path to take. Is this book something that the traditionally published books are like? Is this something that the traditional publishing houses are looking for? Is this something that is popular right now and is coming from the traditional publishing houses? So if you've written a book that you've done your research on similar books and this is something that the publishing houses are looking for, this is something that is popular right now, and this is something that reaches an audience that those publishing houses are trying to reach, it would be a really good idea to take that book and try to pitch it to the publishing houses. Now, obviously, there are lots of different steps when it comes to, trying to get your book into a publishing house, but I'm just going to refer to it throughout most of this video as either getting your book into a publishing house or pitching your book to a publishing house. Please bear in mind that there are a lot of steps when it comes to both self-publishing and traditional publishing, but I'm just comparing them at their essence, and I'm not going to be talking about all these specific steps. Please make sure to do your own research, as they are both very different and very involved processes, and I'm not going to be going into that today. I'm just going to be comparing them kind of in general. The next thing to consider is time frame. So, like I just mentioned, there are a lot of steps involved in traditional publishing. There are a lot of steps involved in both, but the steps involved are very different. In traditional publishing, you have to do things like finding an agent and, pitching your book, doing all those types of things in the hopes that a publishing house will accept your book. You will probably, if not definitely, get rejected multiple times, and those types of things can take a long time. People can take a long time to get back with you. It's going to take a long time. And if you already know that your book probably isn't the type of thing they're looking for anyway, it probably wouldn't be a wise use of your time to go into all those steps. On the other hand, if you know that this is the type of thing they're looking for, like we just talked about, then it would totally be worth your time, because you might be able to get that type of platform on which to put your book, and that could be a really wonderful thing. But on the other hand, of course, if it's not the type of thing they're looking for, if your audience is not being reached by them, then it's really not worth your time. And that's one of the reasons. I mean, these are all reasons, but I didn't even really think about bothering, it hardly even crossed my mind to try to do things like get an agent and pitch to publishing houses, because I just knew that free was not the type of story that they were looking for. It was for a different audience. So I was content with that, and I just decided to continue on the path of self-publishing because that was the best fit for my book, and I didn't need to spend all that time doing those things. So the third factor is the one that I feel like is talked about most often, and it is control. Whenever you self-publish, you are in charge of everything. You are in charge of cover design, whether you do it yourself or you hire somebody else to do it. You are in charge of editing, whether you get a lot of editors or if you self-edit. You are in charge of formatting, and you are in charge of all the marketing and those types of things. I would like to make a side note here that one of the misconceptions about traditional publishing is that they will do all of the marketing for you. Traditional publishers actually generally only do big marketing for the books that are already by popular authors or that they just see an enormous amount of potential in. With very few exceptions, you are going to have to do a lot of marketing for your book regardless. So don't think that just because you choose traditional publishing means that you don't have to do any marketing for your book. You should expect to have to get the word out about your book regardless. If your traditional publishing house that you get into, hopefully, does do a ton of marketing for you, it's still a good idea to, as the author, be putting your book out there, celebrating your work, and letting people know about it. So I just wanted to make that side note at some point in this video that you should expect to market your book regardless. Don't think that the publishing houses are going to do all of that for you. So whenever you are self-publishing, you control a lot of things, and whenever you are publishing through a publishing house, they are going to control the vast majority of how your book appears. They're going to control things like cover design, they're going to control things like formatting, they are going to obviously provide things like editors, and so they are going to help you with a lot of that. Now, obviously, you wrote the book, you decided what the book's about, and if you have written in a, certain genre and things like that, that's going to obviously, affect the way in which they do things like the cover design and the formatting, but they are ultimately in charge of those types of things. So if you love that idea, if you are super excited not to have to figure out formatting and what to do about cover design and those things, then that's one of the big perks of traditional publishing. Now, don't get me wrong, even those of us that choose to self-publish because we want to control those things like the cover design and the formatting, those things can still be hard to learn. And I don't think any of us self-publish exclusively for the reasons that we want to decide on what the cover design is going to look like and what the formatting is, but it can be very, very nice whenever you are working with a specific audience to get to control those types of things. This is one of those things that I wouldn't base your entire decision off of this particular factor, but it is one of those things that can be a perk depending on what you want to do and how much control you want to have and what things you would really like to be able to leave to somebody else if you could. Those are my main factors that I considered when I ended up deciding to self-publish. Obviously, self-publishing is not for everyone, and you should definitely do your own research because the two paths are vastly different. Hopefully this video has encouraged you, gotten you excited, and if you already know which path you would like to take, do let me know down in the comments. I enjoy kind of hearing about different people's publishing journeys and why they chose the path they chose. Because both paths are valid, both paths have their benefits, both paths have their pros and cons. And so I don't think that any one is less valid or is better than the other. I just think that we as authors need to make educated decisions about what's best for us and for our books. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and be sure to stick around for more writing and storytelling adventures in the future. I will see you next time. Bye-bye!